All right, everybody, welcome to the MoYak podcast. We're here after Truman Lake. I got my buddy here, Jonathan Dominguez. How you doing, bud?
Oh, what's up, man? I'm doing good, man. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good, man. Ready to get this show started and start talking about some fishing. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, me too, man. I really enjoyed this last weekend. It was got nice seeing everybody. Nice actually being at a live event. Seriously, you put in some work this weekend, and I'm sure all the Moyak guys want to say thank you.
Not a problem at all, man. I loved it. I'm glad everybody had a great time. I think it was a pretty successful event, and I'm looking forward to building on that.
Definitely, it's very exciting to see how many guys we've got, and the numbers was really what amazed me. That was a large tournament for even Truman. I think that was awesome.
Yeah, we just keep getting bigger and bigger. It looks like, I mean, we could be averaging around 80 anglers at every tournament this year, which is crazy.
Yeah, guys, as you may have seen on the Facebook, uh, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that Josh does and has going on, and he needs some help. And I don't know what he's gonna give you guys. Maybe he'll give you a high five, but hopefully it'll be something good. But he definitely needs some help from some guys. Maybe just to do some random stuff that, I mean, if you're good at taking pictures, maybe you got a nice camera. Maybe you've got a way to record stuff. Josh would appreciate that. Maybe you have other talents. Guys, we've got so many great guys in our club, but I feel like we can really come together and help Josh out with maybe some stuff in the background that he needs. Josh knows exactly what he needs, and he can let you. And maybe that's not a good fit for you, but definitely, guys, if any of you guys can help, I think it would make things a lot more smoother. And I think everyone would appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of people that have volunteered too, which is going to be great. I think this Truman was our first live tournament of the year. It's our first tournament being of this size, so it's going to be a little bit of growing pains, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Guys, but what it means, more guys means better payouts, means better fishing buddies, means just overall better environment for kayak anglers. It's awesome. I think it's going to be great.
Yep.
Man, well, we've got some.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. We've got tons of announcements to get to, and let's start going through those. Taney Como, July 18th. I think that's going to be a good tournament. I know a lot of guys are coming in there, maybe not fishing it. We'll be kind of surprised, but I'm excited for it, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are excited for Taney Como, especially after seeing the kind of numbers that people are putting up fishing in Taney Como. So everyone's ready to get on Taney Como right now. But I can tell you from personal experience that Taney Como can reward you with monsters, and she can kick you in the butt all at the same time. So you never know what's going to be. Taney Como is one of my favorite lakes to fish, but at the same time, I've gone there before and never gotten a single bite. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, we could have several guys get over 100 inches in this tournament. It is very possible. So, yep, that's next on the list is Taney Como, July 18th.
We'll be there and we'll be live, and it'll be a great time. Truman, top 10 anglers. We were talking before we got on here. The numbers were tight, not only within the top 10, but the top 20. I mean, there was tons of guys that were just right on top of each other. One fish could have changed them a couple spots, and it was cool to see.
Yeah, I think that the top 20, they were all 80 inches or above just to get in the top 20. So that's pretty incredible. I mean, it just shows you that the bite was really good that day, and that the MoYak guys really picked that lake apart and found the fish. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, coming in 10th was Steve Bryant.
Mm.
He had 82 and a quarter inches. We had Jason. I don't even want to butcher his last name, but I'm not even Jason J. 82 and a
There you
half.
go.
And sorry about that, man. If you call me and tell me how to say it, I'll make sure to say it right next time. Christopher Moyer. That guy's been a stick on the online stuff. He had 82 and 3/4 inches. For Truman. Who else do we have, Josh?
Right after that, we had Lance Irwin with 83 inches. Right there, as those last three guys were only separated by a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
And then after that, you got Matt Yates at 83 and 3/4. And then we had Richie McMichael at 84 inches. And then Michael Sandlin had 85. And then we got into those top three, Jacob Nunn, 85.5. Jacob's always been consistent, year after year.
And 85.5 is a solid score for a live tournament. You hit 80s, 85 and a half, 85. You're like, yeah, that's a solid score. And then just
Yeah,
for
you're going to win it. You think you're
yeah,
I'm going to win.
yeah, I'm sure Jacob none came in like, we're good, man. This is going to be a great time. And then Lance Burris, 93 and a quarter. That dude's a stick, man. He's doing a great job this year.
He just keeps doing it everywhere he goes. He just keeps on putting up big numbers. He's hard to beat.
And then got the man of the hour, man, Jim Harding, 100.5 inches. Can you believe that?
I mean, no, that's the biggest live event score we've ever had in MoYak, and I'm pretty sure it's the biggest one-day total ever in a live event in Missouri, ever. I mean, that's insane. 100.5 inch, and his big bass, 22.5. And some people were thinking, oh, there's no fish in Truman. There's just little dinks in Truman. He goes out there and jacks over 100 inches in one day during a thunderstorm. Yeah, there's fish in Truman.
Josh, when was the last live tournament that you've been to that a guy broke 100?
Boy, that's a tough one.
But seriously,
it'd be 100? Somewhere down south. It would have to be down there, Texas or Florida. Yeah, it doesn't happen. I mean, the online guys around here can do it, but it takes them a month to get there, not one day.
No, yeah.
So, man, hats off to Jim Harding, dude. Congratulations. I mean, that's something that's probably going to stand for quite a while. I don't see that being beat anytime soon.
That's crazy. Truman Lake, we had top 3 teams. El Lobina Banditos, and I can say that with my Mexican accent because I am just half Mexican. So they finished out with 164 inches. Team Bonafide, 167 and a quarter. And then Jim and his boy Dorman, man, the H&H Bass Destroyers. What is H&H their sponsor? Where does H&H come from? Do you know?
That would be Huey and Harding. The Huey and Harding Destroyers. H&H.
There you go. There, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that makes sense. Bass Destroyers, 181 and a half. Just guys tearing it up. They're doing a great job this year. Him and Jim and Dorman. They're 2 good sticks, and they fish together quite a bit, and it's cool to see them.
Two guys that are both fishing out of a sit-in kayak too.
It's cool. It really doesn't matter. You could have a Hobie, you can have a Bonafide or something with a motor on it. Feel free. But really, it just comes down to fishing and keeping it simple, and that's what I really liked when we talked to Jim and we'll get into that here in a minute. Is how he said he really had to focus on what he was taking and what he was doing that day, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you want to fish out of whatever makes you the most comfortable. Whatever you're the most comfortable being in is what makes you the better angler. It doesn't matter what kayak it is.
Absolutely. Well, the June monthly, we got a couple days today and tomorrow before it is done. Brennan had a great day on the water. He's sitting at like 103 inches, something like that.
Yeah, Brennan went out with his swim baits and he jacked some more monsters again. So he's going to be hard to beat in these onlines. These guys are going to have their hands. They're going to have their hands full, that's for sure. Yeah,
it's definitely a score to contend with. July monthly, it's getting going right around the corner. Make sure and get signed up before the end of the month. Let's go through some of the current AOY standings. Let's go ahead and start with the team trail. And go through that and talk about the top 10 guys that we have. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Honorable mention. They're sitting in 10 right now. Josh, do you know? I don't have my list of who's on that team. Do you have those lists?
Actually, no, I don't right offhand.
We'll do this again and go through the top 10 and get those announcements on those guys. Slapping the Bass, they're coming in that 9 spot right now. Toad Stickers, the Bream team, and St. STL Goons. That'll round out your 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6 spots. Who else we got, Josh?
Then we got Yaktiv Duty, and then we've got and I know that is a Jeremy Mitchell and Jason Yuznicki. The Furious Drum Snatchers. They're sitting there in fifth place. That's Brian Hillman and Troy Inke. We've got Team Bonafide sitting in fourth. That is Lance Burris and Mike Kiefer. In second place, we've got El Obino Banditos. Yeah, Jeff Mellencamp and Richie McMichael. Yep. And currently sitting in first place with a pretty good lead is the H&H Bass Destroyers, which is Dorman Huey and Jim Harding. So there's your top 10 for the team trail as after 3 events.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool to see those teams fishing together, and it's fun to hear about them talking about, you know, going to each other's spots and fishing them and then making some decisions about where they're going to fish for the days.
Yeah, and really, you know, about the top 5 or 6 teams, they're really close right now. And after, you know, there's still a couple drops that can take place. So the team trail is wide open right now. I mean, even though H&H is up there in front, it's anybody's game right now after you start doing drop scores. I'm telling you, that makes a huge difference. Once we get later on in the season and you drop your lowest score, it completely changes your ranking. So keep that in mind too.
Be fun to watch. Let's go into the online, the AOY top 10. Christopher Moyer, guy we've talked about quite a bit on the online stuff, doing a great job. We got David Pilgrim in that 9 spot. Michael Cornelius coming at the 8 spot. Brandon Brown, which it was great to talk to him about Truman.
Absolutely.
And he still had a pretty good bag. I think he was in that top 20 for Truman. And then Jason Stokes, that'll round out your 6th spot. Who you else got on top 5, Josh?
Yeah, then we go with Richie McMichael, Mr. McNasty himself, and then right after that is Jonathan Dominguez. Way to go. You're in there, man. The top 3, we've got Richie Lafferty, and he's got 295 points, or inches, I'm sorry, 789 points. Jared Fosno in 2nd place. He's got 830 points. And just barely ahead of Jared is Troy Inke with 834 points. So those guys are only separated by 4 points. So that's still a slugfest right there in the online series as well.
Yeah, and Jared's sitting good right now. He's in that 4th spot for, you know, June, and he's got a really good setup right now where he's at for that AOY.
Yep, that's going to make a difference.
Well, here it is, you know, Angler of the Year, what we all talk about, what we all, you know, strive after, and man, it's just an honor to win this award.
It really is. I mean, it's the upper echelon. It's what it is all about. The whole season accumulates to get these points and to become the top dog and to be number 1 for the year. And so, I mean, everybody's duking it out. We've got, I'm going to say almost 200 members right now. They're going to be fighting out for this Angler of the Year race. And so we can go through the top 10 real quick if you want to jump in on that, and let's see where everybody's at.
Let's go. We got Matt Yates in that 10 spot. Sam Young, you know, not far off from him. Keaton Votley, I believe so. He had a great start at Truman. I know I checked in the morning, like 7 o'clock. He had like 75 inches. Had a great morning.
Yeah,
you got Tommy Probst right behind him, and then Cooper Rodman. That'll be your 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 spots. Still, you know, guys, they're not far off from each other at all.
No, all those points are right there. I mean, Cooper and you know, the person who's in 5th place is Jim Harding. They're tied with 716 points. You know, and in 4th place we've got Brian Hillman. Brian Hillman's jumped up there. He's got 766. So, you know, and then we get to our top 3. And, you know, I expect all of these top 10 guys to be battling it out all year. Because, you know, there's going to be, you know, drop scores from this as well, too. But in the number 3rd spot, you've got Dorman Huey with 812 points. And then Richie McMichael, man, he just dominates everywhere he goes as well. He's sitting in 2nd with 824 points. And then right now, your current leader for the Angler of the Year race is Lance Burris with 865 points. So he's jumping out there. And if guys don't hurry up and start catching up, he's going to run away with this thing. So it's exciting to watch this unfold.
Yeah, solid stick there. Solid stick. Just doing a great job. Super nice guy. if you get a chance to talk to them, say hi. Any of these top 10 guys, man, they're great guys. I met Keaton for the first time, super nice guy. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see. It's fun to watch, but it is going to be a battle till the end.
Yep. It's exciting to watch.
It is. Well, that talks about our AOY standings right now. Extreme River Challenge, August 1st. It's going to be cool to see this MLF style tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be a first. It's another thing that we're trying out for the first time, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the anglers. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this. This is a river tournament, so you can fish on any river you want, any public river in Missouri. So it's statewide. It's going to be kind of like an online. It's going to run from 6 in the morning until 6 at night. So you got 12 hours to go out on a river and float it and catch as many fish as you can. There is a 12-inch minimum on this tournament. Normally we don't have this, but for this tournament there will be a 12-inch minimum. But after that, it's unlimited. So I think guys are going to get out there and really put up a lot of numbers. I'm curious to see just how many fish we can catch in one day, because this is going to be a test. This is going to see how many fish can MoYak catch in one day on a river.
Man,
we're going to find out.
Yeah, I almost feel bad for you though, man, because you had a busy day on Saturday, for a live event, but now you have an MLF style, man. There's going to be a lot of fish that you're going to have to judge, man.
I will have help.
I think that's a great idea. That's a really good idea. You probably.
I also wanted to point out too, for everybody that's looking forward to this tournament and then that are in the team trail, this does not apply to the team event. This is only for the individual trail. The team trail is just going to be regular. It's just going to be, your 5 fish per person, total for 10. Tourney X does not even have a setup for an unlimited event for a team. So I can't even set that up. So there is going to be no unlimited team side. It's only going to be on the individual side. So I wanted to clarify that, if maybe some people thought that it was going to apply for the team trail too, because Tourney X doesn't have that technology yet.
So looking at Tourney X, the information on there, start time is at 6 a.m. and then end time is at 6 p.m. Is that correct? So
yes.
For guys to float 12 hours, man, that's a good day of floating.
Yeah, and I mean, you can start whenever you want. You don't have to start at 6, and you don't have to end at 6. If you want to float from 8 to noon, you can do that. If you want to float from noon to 6, you can do that. If you want to get out there and go gung-ho and go 6 to 6, you can do that too. And then there's also a few hours after that to give you time to get your photos submitted too, so you can get off the water and go find signal. So yep. The awards are probably going to be the next day afterwards. Have time to process and get all the judging and everything done. But yeah, that's how it's going to work. Yeah,
photo submission deadline's at 8 p.m. for that day, and it'll be cool to see all the fish that we catch, man. It'll be fun to see the numbers.
Yep, we're going to be doing something all new. I'm not aware of many other clubs that are doing this, so it's going to be exciting to see how it unfolds.
Nice. So Saturday we went out to Truman, and Saturday morning it wasn't bad. It was nice, kind of overcast. We got a storm run in. It started raining. The storm, it stopped raining. It got windy. The wind stopped, and then it got blazing hot. It felt like we got multiple phases of weather on Saturday, and I hope that guys were prepared. I hoped, I looked at the weather and I looked at the radar, and I'm like, it's going to be a doozy. But I really hope guys are checking the weather. I mean, I don't know about you, but how important is it for you to look at the weather before you go to a tournament?
Yeah, and that's exactly what our kayak tip of the week is how to, identify hazardous conditions and be aware of what's coming at you while you're on the water. I mean, being able to read Doppler radar, having that ability on your phone and checking the weather. Sometimes you may not have signal, so do it the day before and at least have an idea. Like what happened at Truman, everyone pretty much knew that a wicked cell was going to blow through at some point in time, right around 9 or 10 in the morning. I mean, it was all predicted. Everyone knew it was going to happen. So, in those situations, be mindful of where you're at. If you might be able to get off the water and get up under a rock outcropping or something, beat your kayak and get off the water so you're safe. get underneath a dock, anything like that, but or even be close to the boat ramp to where you can jump back to the ramp and get in your vehicle, and then ride it out. But always be aware, and also know how it's gonna affect your kayak. Some kayaks are different, like the sit-in kayaks, they don't have scuppers, so they can't drain. And so if you've got a lot of rain and water coming in and heavy waves crashing over your bow, you could take on enough water to sink and flip. And I think that happened to one individual or maybe another. So knowing about your kayak is important too, about the conditions and the wind. We all know about the wind, so be aware of the wind, because just big waves alone can do some damage. So I just think that everyone should become part meteorologist.
Yeah.
Study the weather, plan accordingly, have good rain gear, have a backup plan, know where you're going to go if you have to get off the water, be watching the sky, watch out for lightning, just pretty much common sense things. But as kayak anglers, we don't have the luxury of being in a bass boat where we can just hammer down and go 60 miles an hour to a different part of the lake. So don't go too far, if you think something's coming. So just some advice for things to think about if there's a possibility for bad weather.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about, taking on water in your kayak, most of the time you don't realize it until it's pulled up and you're like, holy crap, I've got a bona fide, but I plug my scuffers because I don't want water to come through the bottom. And after, a couple hours of fishing in the wind, and my kayak was full, I'm like, crap, I got to get out of the shore and drain this water out. And just, it's stuff to think about, stuff to pay attention to, along with, fishing and what the bass are doing and what you're throwing. But really it comes down to safety. That's, we want you guys safe on the water, and we want you to be able to leave the water. You may be disappointed at how you did, but you're leaving the water, safe.
Yeah, and I know a couple guys, they just got off the water and beached their kayaks and went and sat up under some rocks and just hung out for about an hour and just rode it out. Sometimes you got to do that too,
Yeah, multiple guys I talked to, I think Richie McMichael, he was telling me that he's like, forget this, man, I'm getting out of the kayak. And Jacob too, he said that one of them lightnings hit, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to the truck. And at that point, you realize that there's no bass worth your life. It's not worth it, man.
Yep, it's just fishing, and I heard a report of there was a crappie tournament going on during this event as well, and I guess they seek shelter on the shoreline and beach their boat, and I guess the waves come crashing over and sucked it out and sunk it, and I guess they lost a lot of stuff. Their boat was sunk, and they even had it beached, and it was a bass boat. Wow. So, if conditions can sink a bass boat, as kayak anglers, we need to be extra cautious in those kind of situations. Definitely.
Well, man, I'm excited about our guest. We got Jim Arding on here. We're gonna get in here talking to him. But and before we do that, let's give some love to our sponsors. Let's show off what they're doing for us and give them some credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, well here it is, the man of the hour, the man of Truman. We got Mr. Jim Harding with us. He is your AOY 2018 winner. Jim, man, thanks for being on here, man. Congratulations on this weekend. Really excited for you,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
man. You did a great job. Had a good weekend. Well, let's get into it, man. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about how you got into kayak fishing.
Well, I've been kayak fishing since actually the late 90s, and it's evolved a lot since then. And I actually started fishing out of a pontoon kayak and then have moved up and fished out of all kind of them. And I actually just like fishing out of the sit-in kayaks, and I do a lot of river kayaking, but I'm not afraid to get out there on the big lakes.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool that you're in a sit-in kayak. I think a lot of guys think that if they sit-in, they don't have a shot to compete well, but I think you're proof that that's not the case, right?
Yes, one reason I use the sit-in kayaks is I can get them in tight spots. I can hurry up and change if I need to, and it's just easier on me to unload and get in the water.
What other advantages do you feel like you have besides being able to get into tighter spots that guys can't get into?
Oh, I don't pack a lot of gear. I try to keep it down. Sometimes if you take too much gear, it seems like it gets you in trouble. So I have to watch what I take. And big thing is I can sit down inside there, and it makes me feel more comfortable. I know a lot of guys stand up on their sit-on tops, and I like being down inside one. It makes me a little more comfortable on the water.
Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean whatever works, right?
That's right.
So let's talk about Truman, man. How many days did you get to fish Truman before the tournament?
Well, I actually looked at some local clubs from up at Truman that had fished, and then Shriners put on a tournament. And when I seen the results of those, I was pretty excited, and I just went up there the first of the month and started practicing. They had reports of 20-pound bags caught on top water, and I was like, I got to go see what it's all about. So I practiced for about a month.
Dang, that's a lot. Well, it paid off, that's for sure.
In a 4-week time span, I seen the lake change a lot and the fish change, and it did help narrowing down where I was going to go.
So Truman Lake, you fished there for about a month. Come tournament day, do you feel like the conditions really changed from what you fished before, or do you feel like they were pretty consistent come tournament day?
They were changing where the fish were at. It was changing a lot when they drew the water down. Spots on tournament day, there was days I was up there and fishing behind little islands and humps, and those were way high and dry, no water. A lot of the brush piles I found, they were dry, so I just had to keep finding the fish. Even I was up there 3 days before, and some of them places were dry. So it was fun following the fish. I started on the main lake when I first started going up there, and I was fishing main lakes in the bushes, and then I had to move out. And then when the main lake's bite started dying, I decided to go to some more skinnier waters and try some of the creek arms.
Is that what ended up working out for you? Was getting up in those creek arms?
That's where I found quality fish. When I was on the main lake, I would find a few quality fish, but I had to go through a lot of small ones. When I got into the creek arms, I started finding the 18 to 20 inch class fish.
So Truman Lake, you know, you fished up there for about a month. You know, had a great turnout. When was the first time that you actually fished Truman Lake?
I fished, I think the first time I ever really fished it was in some bass club tournaments back in the late 90s and early 80s. So I had the opportunity to learn from some locals that really knew the lake, and they actually, those guys weren't scared to take their bass boats up Tebow or the Pommy Arm or anything like that. They would go as far as they could go, and they would actually jump over some of them log jams and beaver jams to get up there. So that kind of gave me insight years ago what lived in some of them smaller waters.
Well, when you got back in the smaller waters, do you mind letting us know? I mean, what was that bait? What was the winning bait that caught that 22.5-inch monster? Or you want to keep that to yourself?
No, I had been using some fast moving baits. The beginning of the practice, I caught them on buzz baits, spinner baits, crank baits, and that started dying. And I got on a jig bite and caught some really nice ones in practice on a jig. And then they started getting finicky with that, so I put a black and blue flipping tube on and had it on one rod. And I actually had 6 rods rigged up for that. I had a spinner bait on, a buzz bait, I had the jig, square bill, and then I had that flipping tube on. And the flipping tube was actually on the lightest rod I had, and it was 8-pound test spinning rod. And I think I made 5 casts with it, and one of those was that big fish.
Oh man, you caught that on like an ultralight?
Yeah, it was on a medium heavy spinning rod, but it was 8-pound test. It was big game, so it held up, but it wrapped up in a big log, and then it freed itself from that, and then it actually jumped in the air and was halfway on a stump. And then it got away from that, and I finally got it in. So
Unreal.
it was a pretty good battle, and it was in a dead end slough where I caught that fish in about, the middle of that slough was 8 feet deep, and it was on just an isolated stick away from a big, where a lot of, like a log jam. There was nothing, I couldn't catch anything off the log jam, but there was one stick that was off at the end of it, and it was about a 2-foot flip in there, and my line just took off.
Did you happen to notice that those fish were relating to a certain type of cover more than others? You know, was it the big rock? Was it the trees? Was it the stumps? Was it the brush piles? I mean, was there one thing in particular you seem to think that those fish were holding on to you a little bit more?
The day of the tournament, early in the morning, you could get them off a rock, and then they seemed to leave that. When the storm rolled in, they were kind of in open water. They were near log jams and laydowns and brush piles, but they were kind of away from them, off of them. Seemed like they were feeding during that storm, and that's when I picked the buzz bait up. And then that big one, it was in the brush pile after the storm went through. So it was all the fish were kind of in or around, really, some of these laydowns were whole sycamore trees laying in the water, like giant trees laying right in the middle of the water. And then some of them were just on brush piles that had floated up. And almost all the fish came out from under probably 6 inches or less of water. So they were super shallow.
Well, it sounds like you had a good time.
I was getting discouraged about 10 o'clock because my good spots, the fish were gone. And I kind of just put my head down, and with that storm coming through, I put that buzz bait on and just kept with it. And when I caught it, I caught 2 key fish with that buzz bait, and it made my momentum pick up. And then I just went hunting, and I headed back to the ramp. I was like, I got a pretty good limit. I think I might just call it a day. And I entered my fish I had, and then I sat there and I looked at the standings, and when I seen Lance was in second, I was like, I'm not giving up now, because that guy, he could catch a
Yeah,
out of his hat.
He can run away with it at any time for sure.
Yeah, I went back out for a little while and seen a bluegill jump out of the water near a lay down, and threw that square bill in there, and I caught that 21 incher at the end of the day. So everything just went away.
One of those days, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think it's going to be like in November? I mean, we're going to be going there for the All-American November 6th. So, someone who's familiar with Truman, how do you think the bite's going to be then? I mean, is it going to be as good? Are they going to be feeding up for the winter? I mean, there's a lot of guys that are probably watching this that are going to be planning on traveling to the All-American. They want to know what it's going to be like. So what do you got to say about that?
I think it's going to be right before winter, and everybody knows fishing can get a little tough in September and October, but hopefully cold weather starts coming in, and a lot of guys will go up there and deer hunt, and then they'll take their bass boats during that time. And all the reports I hear every year is the fishing's outstanding, and that. So hopefully going into fall when we have our tournament, that they'll be feeding up. And if they are, I think it's going to be wide open, and the whole lake will fish good.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I think they'll be feeding up. It'll be right around that time, if we're lucky, when they'll be feeding up for that winter, they'll be gorging themselves, and that'll be a great time to be out there.
And it's a little farther up north, so I think it's going to line up just right.
I do too.
Should be a good time. If we get any kind of turnout for our club with a nationwide tournament like this, it should be a great event. It should be a good time. As far as Missouri fishing, what's the lake that you like to fish the most, and why?
Well, I enjoy Bull Shoals quite a bit. I think I've probably done more fishing on there than anywhere. And great bass lake, and right now it's a really good bass lake. And after this year's high water, the next few years on Bull Shoals is going to be outstanding. So you can get down there, get away from the crowds. Sometimes you're out there by yourself and you never see anybody else, especially in the early spring and late fall and winter. And probably after Bull Shoals, Table Rock.
Yeah, these high water conditions, especially on Bull Shoals. Bull Shoals has been flooded for like 3 years. So, I mean, that's been 3 years of really good spawning. And I think it's going to, like what you said, I mean, the next couple of years is going to be a really good bite on Bull Shoals if they can get the water. Well, even if they don't, them bass have the perfect habitat right now to get big and healthy.
Yeah, I think our tournament on Bull Shoals this year for MoYak, it's going to line up, and guys are going to be really surprised and very happy that they went down there.
I agree.
Talking about tournaments coming up, Taneycomo's right around the corner, just a couple weeks away. It almost looks like you're there now. Are you fishing Taney right now?
Up near the dam.
Yeah, man. See, there he is already putting in some more work
already
for that next
pre-fishing.
tournament. I mean, what advice would you give for new guys coming to that lake? I know last year I went there twice, and I could have swore there was no bass in that lake. And I was proven wrong come tournament day with all these guys catching fish. But what would you tell a new guy headed there?
A lot of people overthink it. And when the fish eat, you can go one day, you could catch 5 fish, you have 100 inches, and go the next day and you're not going to get a bite. The bass and Taneycomo are kind of their own deal. They just do what they want to do. They're there, they're spooky. Then some days you have to be very stealthy, and use varied finesse techniques. Other days you can throw a giant whopper plopper and make as much noise as you can, and they'll attack it right at the kayak. So every day's different. Whatever guys feel comfortable throwing, they can probably catch bass out of there. They just have to see what the bass, or let the bass tell them what they're doing that day. If you catch one right off the bat and it's aggressive, it's probably going to be an aggressive day. If you see them spooking, you're going to have to go stealthy and sneak up on them and get them. And
good advice.
So we put up on the Facebook page just a couple questions that guys would like to ask you, and Mark Springer, he said, were you fishing deep or shallow? And I think you talked about fishing shallow a little bit, but do you feel like most of your bites were shallow, or did you go deep at any point?
No, tournament day was dirt shallow. A couple of the fish, they came out of 6 inches of water, and the deepest one was probably a foot of water.
Wow. There you go, Mark. I would say shallow is the answer.
Yeah, definitely. Joe Hayes also posted on there. He says, at what point did you realize it was going to be your special day?
The night before, I thought it was going to be a special day, and then at 10 o'clock, I was kind of like, what the heck happened? Like getting discouraged pretty bad. I had 2 18s, but I was like, it should have happened a long time ago, and I had to slow myself down. I threw the buzz bait, and I seen a couple, they would grab the skirt and not get the hook. They would kind of just come up, and that told me I had to slow down. And when I slowed down and I caught a 19, and then I caught another about 19, I believe, and that picked me up, and then I was like, I gotta go, I concentrate, and so the momentum started building. But when I caught the big one, I was really excited then, and I was like, it's coming together now. It was one of those days at 10 o'clock where if you got down on yourself and gave up, and it was all about decision making. I was going to head downstream and start fishing, and I knew that from practice there was good fish up there, and I stayed in that area and just kept making laps, and finally they started biting. So about 11 o'clock, it started all coming together.
So at 10 o'clock, when you got discouraged, how many fish did you catch at that point?
I had 2 18s, but then I had some small. I had a 15 and like some 13s and 12s. And I was like, oh, it's going to be another catching a bunch of 13 to 15 inch bass, and just be right up there. We're probably going to get in the 20th place range or something like that. And I caught a good fish, and I went over and measured it and just kind of calmed down and told myself that, the fish are here, and just buckle down and go after it. And I kind of kicked it in hyper mode and just took off and started rapid fire casting, and finally found some. So it
worked.
It worked.
It got you paid. That was a great day on the water. I mean, that was probably it is the highest score I think we've ever had in Missouri in a single day live event, as well as probably the biggest money total won by someone in a MoYak tournament. So, man, congratulations for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, Jim. Look forward to seeing you at Taneycomo. I know you and your partner, Old Dorman, you guys fished that quite a bit, and it'll be fun to watch you guys fish in that deal and see how you guys do on there as well, man.
Yeah, Taneycomo, it's kind of always, it bites me. I do good practice, and then tournament day, it just seems like I'll catch a mediocre limit, and I don't know why, but I'm going to give it heck this time.
She's finicky. Taney is a finicky girl, that's for sure.
It sure is.
So, Jim, what do you think about if we get 80 to 90 kayaks there on Taneycomo? What do you think about that?
It's going to be a kayak party. We're gonna have We'll see how good everybody gets along.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have a problem.
Mm.
It'll be close quarters, but we can get a lot of them spread out. There's fishing places people don't think about, so
Yeah, we can do it one more time.
Well, cool, Jim. Thanks for your time and good luck tonight fishing. Hopefully you catch another mondo and have it show it off to us. And congratulations again on your weekend, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for all you guys do.
Yeah, thanks for being on here, Jim. I appreciate it.
All right, you guys have a good night.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thank you, man. Guys, just spoke to Jim, man. Jim, super nice guy. Great talking with him. It was pretty cool to see him out there at Taneycomo fishing right now, getting ready for, the next event, putting in work. Josh, man, what else do you got for us this evening?
Yeah, it was great talking to Jim, and it's funny too. Like you said, he's on the water right now. He never stops. So, thanks to Jim, for taking the time out to talk to us about Truman. And I also want to take a moment to thank all the people that really helped make the Truman Lake event a success. It was a team effort all around by a lot of different people, not just me at all. I want to thank Jared Fosno and Gary Clody from Everhart's. I mean, they gave us an incredible venue. They worked their butts off to set all that up for us. And, thank you. I mean, they've set the bar for how MoYak venue should be, in my opinion. That's the way it should be. And that's the way I want it to be for every event. So thank you to Everhart's Outdoors for, making Truman tournament an incredible event. Even Brandon Brown, he, did the podcast with us. And also, he was even fishing in the tournament, but he was working behind the scenes at Everhart's helping to set this up too. He had a big role in those big bass bags and all the goodies that were in those, which is like $150 worth of gear that I didn't even know about when I was announcing it, or I would have told everybody that. But yeah, those big bass bags are incredible. So thanks, Brandon, for that. There's a lot of guys behind the scenes help make this happen too, like Brian Hillman, Richie Lafferty, and Jeff Mellencamp. I mean, they've been helping me from the very beginning to organize and coordinate everything with MoYak, from sponsors to the tournaments to the schedule to everything. So those guys do a lot behind the scenes too, and they should get a little bit of credit for that, as well as our webmaster, Troy Inke. Troy has created a really cool website for us. There's even there's angler profiles on there. We've got information on everything. If you explore the website at MoYakFishingSeries.com and just go through and pick it apart, you're going to see that there's a lot more there than you probably think there is.
It's awesome. So,
yeah, thank you to Troy for doing all that. I mean, that's all part of what makes MoYak a success, is everybody's working together. At Truman as well, I got a little overwhelmed. This is one of our biggest tournaments ever. And, Matt and Steve Bryant and Travis Gavik, they stepped up to help me out with the check-in and the food and stuff. So thank you guys, for, giving up your time to actually help everyone else out. So I appreciate that too. As well as KDKD Radio, they broadcasted live from that event, and it's going to air this Saturday. I'm really excited to hear how that's going to turn out. I heard they interviewed some anglers. I don't know who it was, so I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to turn out. So a big shout out to them for being there to take the time out to do that as well. The whole event, I think, just went off incredibly well, and I want to thank the city of Clinton as well. And I'm really looking forward to being there for the All-American. It's going to be even bigger and better than what we just witnessed. So, excuse me, I'm really excited about that. So thank you to the city of Clinton. Thank you to Everhart's and everybody that helped make that Truman event a success.
Yeah, man, it was a great time. I know, just coming in there and eating and hanging out with everybody. It was great, man. And seriously, you say thank you to all these guys, but we want to make sure and thank you. You kill it, staying on top of stuff, being organized, getting the word out, making announcements. Thank you, Josh, as well.
That's all I got. So I thank everybody for watching and looking forward to the next event, and we'll see everyone at Taneycomo.
Should be a good time. Be there, be square.
Go.